to keep the music going. Don't Mute DC, a movement that tried to save the music and shed light on the impact of gentrification.
They stopped us from playing, from all the clubs and the parks, everything. It really made it kind of like we need to make sure that people know that this is our sound.
And though the music is still evolving, native lovers of the funky beats that keep going and going are certain their love for go-go will forever remain unchanged.
Faith may still be dancing after that story. Our thanks to her. And there you have it. That's all of our hidden figures for this half hour. But there are so many others out there worth celebrating. So we honor all of those featured in these stories and in the countless others that remain untold. And we hope that this half hour has shed a little light on some of those figures who are hidden no more. Thanks so much for watching. Don't go anywhere. There's much more on ABC News Live right after this.
Votes for guilty, 43 for not guilty.
Donald John Trump, former President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the article of impeachment, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge.
What we saw in that Senate today was a cowardly group of Republicans.
We have no power to convict and disqualify a former office holder who is now a private citizen.
Another sham impeachment down the drain.
This was about choosing country over Donald Trump, and 43 Republican members chose Trump.
We won, not guilty.
We are beyond anything in American history. Donald Trump is now not only the first president in American history to be impeached twice, he's also the first to be acquitted twice in a Senate impeachment trial. It shows the hold that Donald Trump still has, despite everything, on tens of millions of Americans and on the Republican Party.
The country is deeply divided. We're essentially living in two Americas.
We're all watching the same movie, but it's like we're seeing dramatically different things happen on the screen. It's not just Donald Trump on trial, and it's this entire era of our history. It's a reckoning of how did we get here? Who have we become? How did this happen? It all happened here, at the heart of our democracy, that magnificent Capitol building.
All within about a month, you had insurrection, you had people storming the Capitol. Weeks after that, the inauguration. And then the impeachment trial.
We saw those 9 House impeachment managers walk that single article of impeachment down the very halls where some of them were running for their lives and delivering it to the Senate chamber that we saw violent mobs storm in.
We begin tonight with the history made in Washington as the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump gets underway.
This trial was held at the scene of the crime. The judges, the senators, they're the victims, as are the House managers of the crime.
It's a moment of truth for America.
You have the House Democrats, who are the prosecutors, led by Jamie Raskin and his team.
Our case is based on cold, hard facts. He violated his oath of office in the greatest breach of a presidential oath in U.S. history.
The Democrats are trying to make the case that everything that happened on January 6th is because of one man, and that's Donald Trump.
Let's start with the big lie, that the election was stolen.
He continued to spread the big lie. He told his supporters the only way he could lose the election is if it was stolen.
And you heard the constant rhythm of "this is rigged."
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that.
It's the only way we can lose, in my opinion, is massive fraud.
On election night, he came out and declared victory when states clearly said it was too close to call the election.
This is a fraud on the American public. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
That was the drumbeat being used to inspire, instigate, and ignite them.
At first, I was numb to it, frankly, because I was like, here we go again, Trump not telling the truth. And then it started to take hold, and then I got worried.
Tens of millions of Americans became convinced that the election had been stolen, that Donald Trump had actually won, despite what all the courts were saying, despite all the evidence.
The Attorney General, who has so often been on the president's side, declaring today that the Justice Department has found no evidence of widespread voting fraud.
President Trump genuinely, legitimately believes that he was cheated out of the election, and that's his right to believe that.
He's allowed people who really have tremendous faith in him they can't believe that he lost the election.
I do think that the results were fraudulent. I do think there was shenanigans.
It was fraudulent, phony, and it was rigged.
Trump drilled in on Georgia.
And then in Georgia, his conduct was perhaps the most egregious.
There is clear evidence that tens of thousands of votes were switched from President Trump to former Vice President Biden in several counties throughout Georgia.
There was no evidence of any significant fraud in Georgia at all. But on January 2nd, Trump calls Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger the top election official in Georgia, and he leans on him.
Look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
He says it right there. The President of the United States telling a public official to manufacture the exact votes needed so he can win.
On January 6th, we know who lit the fuse.
That day, he simply wanted a peaceful and honest airing of the question of whether there were election irregularities in 6 battleground states.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
President Trump kept repeating the myth that Pence could stop the certification to his base to anger them, hoping to intimidate Mike Pence.
And Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
At his signal,
After this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you.
he struck a match,
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
and he aimed it straight at this building. At us.
We saw the House impeachment managers play this 13-minute long video. You heard the violence and the chaos, the sounds of it echoing throughout the chamber. There was video that we have never seen before, that the public has not seen, that the senators themselves have not seen.
We got to see for the first time what these individuals in the House and the Senate, what they were doing, how they were panicking, how they were running for their lives in some instances. We saw the heroism of Officer Eugene Goodman, who literally distracted a crowd, telling them, come over here, come this way, keeping them away from a door that, should the rioters have gone through it, they would have come face to face with members of the Senate.
It's like you're watching a movie that isn't real. And so, for me, I actually got chills.
We know those hallways. We recognize those corners. And for that
that reason, I think very impactful.
It's deeply upsetting. It is anxiety provoking. It is frightening.
That awful day could have been so much worse.
You had this clip of Senator Romney. He's just steps away from this violent mob, and he had no idea.
Romney got out in the hall, and nobody was there. Officer Goodman was coming down the hall. He was running. He said, Senator, don't go that way. Go back to the chamber right now. They're right down there. Who knows what would have happened if these rioters had run into Mitt Romney. This is an arch enemy of President Trump.
Additional security footage shows how Leader Schumer and the members of his protective detail had a near miss with the mob. They came within just yards of rioters and had to turn around.
We saw footage of the rioters coming in and searching for Nancy Pelosi.
He's just yelling, Nancy, Nancy, where are you, Nancy? As if he's playing hide and seek with the Speaker of the House. Nancy! Where are you, Nancy? We see for the first time aides running down the halls of the Speaker's office, getting their colleagues into this one room. They're barricading the door shut.
After just 7 minutes of them barricading themselves, a group of rioters entered the hallway outside.
The staffers for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi were on the phone, whispering, because they could hear the violent mobs pounding at the door, trying to get in.
We need evidence, I think. They're pounding the door trying to find her.
We saw for the first time security footage of Mike Pence being hustled out of the chamber and his family.
The insurgents were at one point, as you saw, 60 feet away from the vice president and the vice president's family.
I thought of Vice President Cheney on 9/11 being taken to the bunker under the White House.
But 2:24 p.m., just 12 minutes after Pence is taken out of the chamber, Donald Trump tweets an attack against his own vice president.
He tweeted, quote, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. He further incites the mob against his own vice president.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done.
The insurgents amplified President Trump's tweet, attacking the vice president with a bullhorn.
And then to see, the mob, screaming, hang Mike Pence, while Mike Pence was still in the building.
They came, draped in Trump's flag, and used our flag, the American flag, to batter and to bludgeon.
Our produce standards are more than a label. It's a promise that every